Hello, everyone. This is Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And I have a friend with me on the show. I am so excited to introduce you to Dr. Margaret Paul. She is a best-selling author, relationship expert, and the co-creator of the powerful inner bonding self-healing process. She's been recommended and friends with folks that we've had on the show before, and dear friends of mine like Marcy Shimoff and Dr. Sue Morter and singer Alanis Morissette. I love her music. She's appeared on numerous radio and television shows, including Oprah. That's amazing. Her book titles include Do I Have to Give Up Me to Be Loved by You, which has sold over 1 million copies, which I love that title. Healing Your Aloneness, Inner Bonding, and the really recently released Diet for Divine Connection. I love it. Beyond Junk Foods and Junk Thoughts Thoughts to an At-Will Spiritual Connection. And the Inner Bonding Workbook, the 6 steps to healing yourself and connecting with your divine guidance. So you will love my community because this is their jam. So Margaret, thank you so much for being on the Quantum Success Show. And we're going to be talking about the power of emotional self-love. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Christy.
Awesome. And so just so you all know, Dr. Margaret has been in this game for 50 years and has written numerous books, 10 plus books, and really is foundational in this industry. So I'm super honored to have you here. So let's talk about it. Why is it so important to love yourself? We hear this all the time, self-love. Why do you feel it's so important to love yourself?
Well, first of all, a lot of people don't understand what that really means. It means a lot of things. And usually people think about loving themselves physically, which is important. You know, I eat well, I get enough exercise, blah, blah, blah. I take a bath, and they think about that as loving themselves. But the thing is, most people don't think about emotional self-love because we have so few role models. Very few of us had parents who knew how to take responsibility for their own feelings. And so we didn't have role modeling for that. Yeah. What happens when we're not taking emotional responsibility is we're abandoning ourselves. And when we do that, we create a neediness inside. We create an emptiness inside. And then we want to get that filled externally. Yeah. So we might fill it by trying to make a lot of money, you know, and get real greedy. We might fill it with, you know, with food, with alcohol, with drugs, or we might fill it by trying to get love from somebody else. And this is a big issue in relationships because people can get into a relationship either to get love and get attention and get completed, or they can get into relationships to share their love. But yes, the only way they can do that is if they're loving themselves. Because there's no love inside if we're abandoning ourselves. Yes. And so it's so important for every aspect of life, not only to love ourselves physically and spiritually and relationally and financially and organizationally, but emotionally. And this is where most people have no idea what to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I talk about energy mastery and mastering our energy and mastering our emotions is one of the things that, again, we weren't taught how to do. And most people suppress it. That's why we have, you know,
That's
depression.
Right. That's right.
We have anxiety, and they don't know that, you know, anxiety and depression aren't emotions, they're disease states, and that what's underneath is the emotion. But when we actually stay present with ourselves and process that emotion, that is self-love.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. But most people don't know how to do that. They don't know what it means. They don't understand that feelings like anxiety and depression and guilt and shame and anger and aloneness and emptiness are all messages from inside that we're abandoning ourselves. And I'd like to mention the 4 ways that people generally abandon themselves. So one is because most of us had pain when we were growing up. We couldn't handle it. Little kids can't handle big pain of like grief or loneliness or helplessness over others or heartbreak. We just can't handle it. So what we learn to do is go up in our head and disconnect from our body. so that we don't feel our feelings. Our feelings are in our body, not our head. Well, we continue to do that. And so if you're in your head and you're avoiding your feelings, you're abandoning yourself. And then people learn to judge themselves.
Yeah.
That's a major form of self-abandonment, telling yourself you're not good enough, or you're defective, or you got to be perfect, or you got to do everything right. Major forms of self-abandonment. Then we turn to various addictions. There's a ton of addictions in our society to numb out our feelings, whether it's food or alcohol or drugs or television or sex or pornography or video games or internet or on and on and on. We got a ton of ways of avoiding our feelings. Yeah. And then, like I said, we make somebody else responsible. And that's like, let's say that you have a child, and instead of loving that child, you keep looking for somebody else to take care of that child. Here, you make this child feel happy. You make this child feel worthy. Well, right away, that child's going to feel rejected and abandoned. And that's what we're constantly doing, is rejecting and abandoning ourselves, and then wondering why we have low self-esteem, wondering why we're so afraid of being rejected by others. And so this is why it's so important to learn to love ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what are your 3 steps, or these steps, I should say, of inner bonding? Because that inner bonding, like you're saying, if we're not abandoning ourselves, we're bonding. So what are your steps to do that?
Yeah. So it's actually 6 steps. It's a 6-step process.
Okay.
And the first one is taking that trip from your head into your body, learning to get present in your body, which for me was pretty challenging. I was a caretaker, tuned into everybody else's feelings except my own. So learning to get present inside with our feelings so that we even know there's something to pay attention to. Yes. Is step 1. And step 2, in the inner bonding process, there's only 2 intentions. And either the intention is to learn about loving ourselves, or the intention is to protect against pain with various forms of controlling behaviors. So in step 2, we consciously choose the intention to learn, and we learn to invite the love and compassion of our higher guidance, higher self into our heart. Step 3, we're doing an exploration. Like if you're feeling anxiety or depression, you want to know what you're telling yourself, how you're treating yourself, what you're doing or not doing that's causing it, not what's happening externally, but what's going on internally. So we're asking the feelings, what am I doing? What am I telling you? And we're going inside to learn about how we're treating ourselves. And then we're going a little deeper to, let's say that I'm anxious, and the reason I'm anxious is because I'm telling myself that I got to do everything right. I got to be perfect. Then we're going to go in to see, why am I doing that? And that's how we uncover our false beliefs, because we've all been programmed with a ton of false beliefs. And I might uncover, well, I think if I'm perfect, then I can control how people feel about me, and then I'll be okay. Then they'll like me, and then I'll be okay. So many false beliefs around things like that. Yeah. So this is a process of discovering how we're treating ourselves and the beliefs that it comes from. And then in step 4, we learn to access our higher truth and our higher love. And we're asking, what's the truth about any of these beliefs, and what's loving to us? Because our higher self becomes the role model. When I started doing this, I looked around for role models, and there weren't any. I didn't see people taking loving care of themselves. Finally figured out I had to go to a higher source for the role modeling. Yeah. And with practice, people can learn to tap into that at will, and to ask, what's loving to me now? What's loving to me now? What's in my highest good now? Yeah. That's what I do all day long. And then in step 5, you take the loving action, whatever it is that you're guided to do, you do. And there's many, many, many kinds of loving actions that we can do, from just learning to be kind to ourselves, learning to tune into ourselves, speaking up for ourselves. There's all kinds of things. And then in step 6, we go in and see how we're feeling. And if indeed we've taken a loving action, we're going to feel some relief. That will let us know. Relief of anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, feelings like that. And one of the things that people learn in this is they learn to manage those deeper existential feelings of life that we had to avoid when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And so to manage the heartbreak, manage the grief, manage the loss. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of loss right now. They have
Yeah.
no idea how to manage it.
Right.
And it's so important to learn to manage these feelings with love, with compassion, with kindness, so they don't get stuck. They get stuck in the body, they cause illness. We need to let them move through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just loving this conversation because it's so in alignment with what I teach and what I help people to, do with energy mastery. And I love that you've broken it down in such easy steps. I know that you teach this, right? You
Right,
do
right.
coaching, you teach this in a course, which everybody can learn more about, but you also have come with gifts today. So you have a gift that you want to offer my community, my viewers. And
Yeah,
it's an ebook, right?
right,
The 4 mistakes that block self-love and relationships. Can you talk a
right.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so people are going to learn a lot about what I've been talking about how they're treating themselves that actually are cutting off the love that's available for them and cutting off their ability to share love with each other. I mean, that to me is the highest experience in life, the sharing of love. That's just what it's all about. But a lot of people think that it's getting love. They get some love, they get some attention, they feel good for how long? 5 minutes, and that becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
But the sharing of love. And so this will help people understand what they're doing to not experience that love within themselves and not be able to share that.
Beautiful. So we're going to put a link underneath the video so you can get Dr. Margaret Paul's ebook. And again, the ebook is called The 4 Mistakes That Block Self-Love and Relationships. Highly recommend that you go down below the video, click on that, and start learning what are the blocks so that you can understand what you need to do. And then there'll also be an opportunity to learn more from Dr. Margaret and to move into the direction of what you desire so that we can be in alignment with our love, right? That's always
That's right.
there and available to us. So
Yes. And if people go to the ebook, they're also going to be directed towards free webinars. I'm doing them right now, webinars that will be so helpful to people in terms of really understanding this process of self-love and beginning to understand the inner bonding process.
beautiful. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody go below the video, click on that. You'll find more information about her webinars that are going on right now, and also be able to grab these different resources. And any last words that you want to say, Dr. Margaret?
I just want to say that anybody can learn this. People think that, oh, that's too hard. No, it's not. Anybody can learn who really wants to, can learn to love themselves and then share love with each other.
I love it. I did a show many, many months ago about really what is self-love. And I love that you're talking about the emotionality of it and really taking care of ourselves, because it is a big part that most people don't talk about and most people don't teach other people to do that. So congratulations on doing this, on helping people in this way. It is so absolutely needed. So just really grateful for you for doing this and sharing this with my community.
Well, thank you, Christy. I'm grateful for being on your show and for your support. And I wish you well.
Thank you so much. And so to all of you, go read the ebook and then come back. Let us know what you're taking away. What ahas have you had from this conversation? Let's continue the conversation. I love hearing from you. This is how I know what more to give you in way of topics and what are you looking for so that I can continue to provide you with light and in service and that, to help you on your journey. So thank you for being part of my community. Have an amazing day, everybody. Bye. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought. Leave me a comment below and be sure to share and tag your friends. And be sure to check out my other videos here and on this site.